Yeah.
Very, very well.
I don't think. Okay, maybe we'll conclude on that note. But first, let's start with some education. Maybe a bit of because the police statement seemed to be in two parts. But let's start with the one that has caught national attention. The comments that were made by the TikTokers. First, everybody thinks we are all of the opinion that something needs to be done about it. Is it an offense for them to say the things they said?
What exactly did you say?
Well, first it sounded like first they said they wanted they were happy about what had happened. Secondly, they expected that in fact there should have been some different people. They were mentioning other people who they said should have been the ones who should have died. Thirdly, they say in fact they were even threatening that they will kill people, including the president himself. That by the end of the year the president will be gone.
Ah, so what else do we want to hear or see? If these utterances were made in isolated circumstances, totally unconnected to an event such as this, then one may think that these individuals were just engaged in the usual empty talk. How on earth would any adult of full capacity and in control of his or her mind make such utterances and be so categorical? An event that has occurred that sent so much shock to the world, not only Ghana. See the outpouring of grief, persons of repute, world leaders, even coming down just to commiserate with Ghana through the president. And a Ghanaian president in Ghana would take to social media to make such utterances. They were so categorical. I see a lot of offenses committed in the circumstances. But in particular, the threat of death is a clearly defined offense under our criminal statute. In fact, specifically Section 75 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act, which we used to refer to simply as the Criminal Code 1960 Act 29. In each Section 75, the offense of threat of death has been created clearly in certain terms. It provides that a person who threatens any other person with death with the intent to put that person in fear of death commit a second degree felony. This is a very serious matter that we cannot gloss over. The intent is to put that other person, called the victim, in a state of fear of death. They were categorical. They didn't just threaten. But what the threat should occasion is death. Now, we got some prejudicial to the investigation of the law enforcement agencies. But in any case, there's no case pending in court where I can be held before any court for making giving commentary that were not content. It will be a very simple task for the prosecution to prepare a charge sheet quickly for these individuals. Only four, or I'll even say three elements of this crime have to be established. Simple. Have these individual suspects issued any threat? to the victim or victims with the intent to put the victim or these victims in a state of fear. And this threat can be communicated by action or just by verbal words. And that the victims must entertain this fear. Here's the case where an incident has happened and all of us are in a state of grief. Some of us can't even sleep. Look, it appears these individuals never saw the gravity of what happened on 6th August. 6th August, for a very long time in our lives, is going to be one of the events and the days that become part of Ghana's history. And the circumstances will give a lot of color to their intention. They were categorical about what they wish. As for what they would have wished in the incident that had happened will be immaterial. But that incident forming the background or the circumstance, which is even under investigation to establish whether or not what happened was an accident or a premeditated act of someone operating remotely or nearby to bring the helicopter down. Some individuals are celebrating this, gloating over it, and were wishing that someone naming a person, the president, and other persons' names were involved and were categorical, giving timelines what they intend to do. That they will kill the president by the close of, I think, this year or next year, and cut the head of the first lady, the wife of the president. They were categorical. If this offense is not made out, then I don't know what else the prosecution will need to make up.
I see. And I'll come to the matter of speech, because there's also the part about assessing, because most of the times people will say, oh, if you assess their capacity, do you think they can do it before you even go to the...
Okay.
Does this matter?
I won't even allow you to go there. In this offense, the ability to carry through that threat is not an element or essential ingredient to establish. Okay? Unlike other offenses, where the ability of the individual to carry through that threat is an essential ingredient to establish, in this offense, there is no such requirement. It's clear. How they are going to do it, when they will do it, what mechanisms to employ, what third parties or whoever they will associate with to execute the threat. It's not an essential ingredient to establish.
Okay. And you said it's a second, did you say a second degree felony?
Yes, it is. Section 75 of Ametepe.
What does that mean when you say it's a second degree felony?
So, it is the scale of gravity of an offense. Imprisonment, several years of imprisonment. When you move from first degree, you go to second degree. Okay? You move from capital offenses, okay, whose sentence is a death sentence or maybe a life sentence. You come to the first degree felonies and then second degree felonies before you have the minor ones that are classified as misdemeanors. The second degree felony is a felonious offense carrying with it very harsh terms of imprisonment.
And So up to how many years can they serve in prison found guilty of this kind of offense?
I'm not very certain about it, but obviously something more than 10 years, 25 years, only God knows.
Well, there are those who, in defense of them, I've seen many posts on social media, some by some very high-profile people, who suggest that this is a matter of free speech, the freedom to speak. That
Wow,
is important to building a democracy.
wonderful.
And
Of course.
President Mahama has even been this. Somebody has gone to the extent of describing him as the new King Ahab because of
As what?
because King Ahab or Ahab, I don't know how to best pronounce it.
Yes, you see, if there is only any person that I know to be so tolerant and control the use of power, it is this president. Some of us given that kind of enormous power, it is something else. Did we not see how power was used during the past regime? The exercise of power. Persons who even sat on radio stations and issued empty threats without any indication of death were picked up and in a matter of days were thrown into jail. You remember that and this social commentator?
Yes.
He was tried in the circuit court day to day. Within a matter of about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, the trial was over. He was thrown into jail. Did he threat killing anyone? These persons were specific. They gave timelines. They mentioned the name of the president and others, particularly the president, and the president's wife, the first lady. What has the president done? What has the president's wife or the first lady done to wake up with social media and someone has stated categorically that they will kill her, cut off her head? What kind of impudence is this?
So the matter of freedom of speech does not arise for you at all?
There is no freedom or legal rights without limitation. These freedom, fundamental freedoms and liberties granted under the Constitution, Chapter 5, that is Article 11, Article 12 up to, let's say, 33, have limitations. They are subject to the laws and the liberties and rights of other persons. Otherwise, there will be total lawlessness. Where does somebody's freedom start and end, and where does the others start? So, is it not also one of the rights to life? The right to life is also a fundamental right, or? So the president and the first lady cannot exercise their right to live at least, for the mere reason that the president has chosen to lead this country and make it better. It's all the wrong that he has done to deserve death, so he cannot complain, because we think that he is the president and he has all the powers to avert any death. When you have these essence being so specific, with so much venom and hatred in them, who knows the faces that they represent and those who are the real, interests that they are fronting for, who knows, the group that they seek for. We can't take this threat lightly. This one, even if the president is not interested, the system will handle
it. For those who have not listened to what, because you seem to have also listened to the details of what they said. For those who have not heard it, let's share it again, and then we'll come to the other arrest that the police also communicated. Yeah.
Fantastic.
That is what I mean. NBC for. Radio
station you can call your own. I love Radio Gold 90.5. The radio station you can call your own. I love Radio Gold 90.5.
Nkwasi asem ni doma amedwuma awodi. Dwuma ya so ye di wo mo ewo mo papa. Na sa plane crash ni be make sure say Mahama ye beku no. Me akosu adolo of na America. Mahama ye beku no akoni biem. Na ono de kokko boto na ye de ni behyem. Do Mahama kokko boto. Ene ye de ni behyem ni akyekyera no na ato atwe. Ye be kyerɛ mo pa. Won kwa ye fa so amu se kokko boto no. Mahama ye de ni be se fertilizer boto. Ye beku afi na mawie ye Mahama so be obewu ye be make sure say ye ku no. Actually yiri ade a ye de be ye Mahama. Asoja fo no de ne sa aka wo mu ni.
The interesting thing about this lawyer is that the MPP themselves the MPP has distanced itself from the comments that were made when he visited the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress yesterday. They said they have no role in it, and that is not the view of the New Patriotic Party.
That's obvious. How can a responsible political party, which has had a policy to govern this country for 15 years, will associate itself with such an utterance and a despicable behavior? It would have been shocking if they do anything or say anything that remotely suggests their complicity and association with this absolute stupidity. You see, on Wednesday, 6th of August, what happened? Some of us looked so deep in the biblical realm. What came to my mind was the book of Job, okay, where it appears that the man was so strong in faith that the angel of death had to strike so hard at the very things that kept him so confident and alive by removing all the fence, the support around him, striking his children, the family, and killing all of them in order to weaken his resolve. That was what happened. The president's resolve to reset Ghana, the speed at which he was moving, the consistency, the focus, unparalleled. Within a matter of months, they are beginning to feel the results. Everybody, even those who don't like it, are those who are carrying through his testimony, the testimony of achievement. In order that lose focus, the very person is most able, committed, and competent lieutenant, such as the fallen eight. Look at the three military officers. Their commitment and dedication to national duty. Look at the defense minister, a young man who is barely 50. The intellect of that Dr. Omangwa. Some of us can hear the voice of Alhaji Mutala on Radio Gold, Alhaji Nara. I just can't believe that I wake up. Dr. Sapon, I know him personally when he was the regional minister of Ashanti. Look at the young parliamentary candidate of Obuasi, Alhaji Munir. What have any one of these people done to deserve such a painful death? And we are yet to come to terms with this. And the least that we expected of any responsible citizen is some level of sober reflection and listen to these kind of utterances. And we want to tolerate this. We can't tolerate this. They must face the law.
Well, let me then conclude on the note of the social media activist known as Obama Pokwasi. The police say they've arrested him because he's made a series of posts of people brandishing weapons. They've been investigating such kinds of incidents. In fact, they have achieved some results, and he is helping them with investigations so that they can identify more of those people and recover those weapons. Exactly what is the police trying to communicate to us?
Well, the coincidences may suggest that such a suit or arrest had anything to do with the social media personalities that have been arrested of death. But to carry through any crime, any other event or existing circumstances that can give impetus to such actions will definitely not be taken for granted. So when people are threatening high-profile personalities with death and are given timelines, and others also have free access to later weapons, a retrieval of those weapons and apprehension of such persons at least will sanitize the system, because they may be the threats that are lurking in the dark that may give strong hands or tend the arms of these what will you call the insane individuals that think they can hide behind the freedom of speech and engage in irresponsible and criminal conduct.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning.
You're welcome, Senna. Have a nice day.
You too. You too. In fact, whilst I was speaking to Lawyer David Ametepe, Mary Adams drew my attention to this particular story. This is December 2nd, 2024, a publication by Benis Besse of the Chronicle newspaper. And this is on their online portal. And the headline is Kanewu leader jailed 10 years for threatening IGP minister. Evelina Samoa, a high court judge with additional responsibility in the circuit court, Accra, has sentenced Mohammed Ibrahim, a self-identified farmer, to a total of 10 years in prison on 3 counts following a day-to-day trial. The court delivered its judgment on Friday, November 30th, 2024, after evidence was presented that Ibrahim's actions were intended to incite fear, threaten public officials, and disturb public peace ahead of Ghana's December 7 general elections. Ibrahim was sentenced to 4 years for publishing